What's going on? What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the greatest podcast in the making, the Extraordinary Man Podcast.
Yes,
You guys
sir.
should know me by now. In case you don't, I am Phil Jones, or Mike Jones, have you know me personally and professionally, and I am the host of the Extraordinary Man Podcast. And you guys know the greatest co-host ever to be on that side of the screen. State your name.
What's going on, man? It's Midas. Make sure you put a king in front of that. Let's go.
All right. So, as many of you guys may know, we talk about a myriad of different topics. And with all these topics that we talk about, it is very much coming from a place of experience and coming from a place of expertise, to say the least. We have dealt with some of these situations much hands on. We try not to deliberate on stuff that we don't know or have some, at least some working knowledge or experienced people who know something about it. So tonight won't be much different. Midas, why don't you go ahead and tell them what the title of today's episode is?
They should see it, but I'm gonna go ahead and read it out for y'all. What were we taught about relationships?
If I had a sound effect, that's what a bomb would have dropped right there.
hmm
So
Coming soon.
soon come in, soon come. So what have we been taught about relationships? I know one thing I've been taught about relationships. Actually, I'm not even gonna start there. I'm just gonna say most of the things that I learned about relationships between a woman and a man, all lies, all garbage, 100% of it. I listened to a bunch of confused people talk about what their ideas of what a relationship should be, and very little of it held any real value once I got out in the dating market.
Let's go ahead and put some sauce in them ribs. What exactly
It's
have
early. I ain't
you?
even put the ribs in. I ain't even put the ribs in the oven yet, baby.
I bet.
All right, so
Cause,
let's
cause,
let's
cause
let's
we
let's
we
get.
go. You jump straight from what you was taught to straight to the learning lesson.
Oh no, because I ain't even got to the talk yet. I'm just this is just the opening credits before the movie starts.
Mm, okay.
So
The premieres.
yeah. So what happens is we've been lied to. Not just me, but many of us have been lied to, misled, bamboozled, hoodwinked,
Hmm.
taken for granted, put out on the chopping block, hung out to dry, washed with no soap powder, dried with no fabric softener, just put out there. And how this happened is the deterioration of the family structure. What I was taught about relationships early on was everything that a man is supposed to be. And you know who taught me everything about what a man was supposed to be? A woman. And you know what the woman who chiefly taught me about what a man is supposed to be to a woman? Do you know what her marital status was?
Single.
As hell. She could get a man, she can get pregnant, couldn't keep one. She was a single by choice.
Ah.
Now I'm not
SBC.
saying names because
SBC advocates.
hey, I'm not saying names because I don't believe in throwing people under the bus. I'm just giving it to you the way that it was given to me. All I can say is that many of us grew up in this echo chamber to where all you had was a bunch of women telling you about what they feel like a man should be doing. And then once that man got out there in the world to get to know what dating was like, he had this ill-conceived notion about being a gentleman, about being giving, being nurturing, being this, being that, everything under the sun that women don't want. I'm in a real meat and potatoes type of mood. I ain't really for the salad and breadsticks today. Can we get meat and potatoes, Midas?
We going straight there? I was making sure my phone was on silent. Sorry.
Okay,
But
but
yeah,
yeah,
we
I
getting straight there.
yeah, I just want to be meat and potatoes. Like I don't want no fluff. You know what I'm saying? Let's just get right into the meat.
Hold the
Pause.
asparagus. Let's hold the carrots. Let's hold all that.
You know, we get right into the
It's a
meat.
straight hearty meal.
So here's how this worked. Is that the delusional nature of what it was that I received coming up was based and predicated off of an idea that women had about what the man was that they dreamt about. But any man who actually exhibited those behaviors did not appeal to those women. So when we listen to the women, the core women who told us what they told us, and when I go and I talk about the core women who taught me what I learned about how to treat a woman. Anytime that a woman tells you that you're a nice guy, you're dead. DOA.
Yeah,
Finished.
for sure.
When you hear that you are nice, the well dried up. If she uses the word nice with you, you are friend zoned. You're so nice. You're so sweet. She's not thinking about the nice and sweet guy when she's looking to be protected in the street. Or if a situation happens and she needs somebody to be the strong masculine figure, she's not looking for the nice and sweet guy to do that. But you could pay for stuff for her. You can hang out with her. You can listen to her talk. What I think it is, and it's like I never took time to do the knowledge on this, so this is just an opinion for the most part. What I think it is the fact that women never wanted these things; they just wanted control. They wanted easily manipulated men to finance them and to take care of the things that they didn't want to. And they wanted somebody that they could be openly combative with. I believe that women have multiple men. She has the ideal sex partner. She has the listen to me, care about my feelings. She has the slide through, spend the money when I need it, just open up the wallet, or we call him wallet man.
Mhm.
I believe that women want an illusion or a delusion. They have a delusion about the ideal man. And I'm not even talking about the ones that scream high value, and I'm not even talking about them. What I'm saying is the fact that I truly believe in my heart of heart that the majority of women, including the married ones, are delusional in belief that something else is out there, that the movie man is out there somewhere and
Mhm.
he's waiting on her.
Slide in if I can.
Absolutely.
So two things. The first one I want to talk on is the nice guy. So I kind of you know what I'm saying think that a lot of men today prefer to be the gentleman, which is the classy, professional, well-mannered, nice guy, and then I'll be that street guy that overly protect when it's needed. I don't think every dude wants to be a dog. Every dude doesn't want to be an a-hole. Every dude doesn't want to be the scumbag. Every dude doesn't want to be the player. They just don't. And they shouldn't have to be that way and or be pressured or forced to have to be a certain way in order to attract a woman. I think that is extremely trash. Second thing, you were talking about how women being in control or wanted to control the things of that nature. I think before we started getting into this whole entire red pill environment, it was that we're in control. And what's happening is the red pill community or the manosphere community started waking men up and started getting them to start seeing the situation for what it is. Start looking at it from this lens. Pay attention to the woman that you're with. What is the actual real true value that she is bringing?
I think that in response to the first one, as far as what a man doesn't want to be and he shouldn't have to be, I'm not I disagree on the premise of biology. Is the fact that biologically, since the beginning of the time, the warrior got all the girls. The top dog is just that way. And just because you don't want to do it, that's like synonymous with saying I don't want to be competitive. So just because a guy doesn't want to do it, just like a woman doesn't want to be submissive, well, guess what? If you don't want to do it, that's fine, but you miss out on a great deal of the options because you choose not to.
And that's perfectly
Like you
fine.
can't. Yeah, I mean you can't negate nature because what women are naturally drawn to
Doing something I don't
has
want to
not
do, Mike,
changed.
is negating nature. And I'm not saying me personally, but I'm just saying in general. We know
Well,
that
it's
the
like
alpha
me.
dog been in existence since the beginning of time. We also know that the farmer been in existence since the beginning of time too.
No, he wasn't. No, he wasn't because agriculture came much later.
Okay, hunter, that's still you're still going out to find meat. You're farming meat. You're farming crops, whatever.
That's a reach.
Okay, sure. Regardless, Mike, we're not going to be PPMs today.
I don't even know what that acronym means.
It means professional point misser.
It's not a professional point misser. It's like what you're saying is wrong. Like this.
No, what I'm saying is that you cannot conflate the fact that this dude over here wants to be alpha, whatever he want to be. This dude over here don't necessarily carry that energy. He should not have to be forced and pushed into a situation to carry the energy as this guy. He doesn't want to do that.
Well, he doesn't. There is no force for him. He just doesn't get the same level of options as the other guy.
And he may be perfectly fine with that. But
Well, that's
but
up to
the
him.
whole
I'm
push
just
that all men need to be that guy.
the push is that if you want a certain result, there are certain things that come along with it.
For sure.
So it's just
He
like
has to
the woman
understand
doesn't
that.
get the woman. Yeah, that's something that he, that's ultimately that's the point. Is the fact that if as a woman I cannot be a hyper masculine alpha boss bay whatever term I want to use and think that a man who requires certain discipline and certain characteristics and that has a high net worth and has a lot to offer based on his network and everything else that he's acquired over time, he has the right to say, I'm not putting up with that. And
Okay,
a woman
you
who,
just spoke on my point that I was going to bring. Okay, so if they're demanding this, what about our demands for that?
well, over here in this sector, you have to understand that we're talking about a biological shift. because of the fact that this guy over here, who is not these things that are traditionally more attractive to women, you don't get the same level. See, it's like this, right? There's what do you call it? Yeah, it's an analogy. And first time I heard this analogy was that you should prefer to be a warrior in a garden rather than a gardener in a war.
For sure. That's an old Japanese proverb.
So now, the thing about options is, if I know I have the capacity to kill and I choose not to, it's different than not ever knowing whether or not I could or couldn't and being in a situation where I'm forced to have to defend myself. There's a big difference in this. And due to that, we have to come to the realization, the fact that everything that comes along with what you know how to do and having the option to do or not do opens up a wider range of things. So it's like, if I sit back and I go in my wallet and I say, you know what, I'm gonna pull out my Amex and I'm gonna go downtown, I'm gonna just go buy the bar out and just let that be that. I have the option to do that. But the dude who don't have the Amex, that don't have the unlimited spending limit, that can't go dollar for dollar with me, he don't even have the option to compete. And if you know that this is what's going to get you majority of the attention in this arena, when I get here, you sit there and you shut up. You occupy your corner over there, and I'm going to occupy the majority of the space over here, because in this arena, I have the leverage. It's not devaluing that guy. It's just the fact that if you don't want to play on this side of the field, that's fine. But don't complain about the fact that I got majority of the field. You see what I'm going at that?
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I mean, it's just really one of those situations to where we know certain things to be true, but that's only because of the fact that we actually got out here in the world to go and see it. So when you got to a certain place in yourself to where you realize that certain things that you were doing or certain things that you were taught was not working, and you had to go back to the playbook and say, man, I tried this, this, and this. This is what the girls told me that they was into, and now I find out they don't like none of this. None of this is true. Actually, the last girl that I went off on,
yeah, I ain't gonna lie, it did happen that way. Yeah,
because you sitting there with your man, sitting there with me, sitting there with everybody like, yo, I don't get it. I don't understand. The first thing that you did is you listened to me. That was the first mistake. That was the first mistake. Is that nobody, hold on, how somebody said this, is the fact that people with privilege are oblivious to it. So when they're giving you advice on how to deal with certain situations, they're giving you advice from a privileged point of view. Maybe not even because they even identify or understand they are privileged, but again, when you are born with your inherent value that you didn't have to earn, you don't know how privileged you are. So even the lowest tier woman is going to get more opportunities than the mid-high tier man in the sexual marketplace. That's just the way that it is. So when it comes down to things, we as men have to understand that we have to be competitive, and competition comes with aggression. If there's no aggression behind what you do,
for sure,
it definitely comes with it.
I mean, I'm 1000% in agreement with everything you're saying. It was just kind of advocating for the guys that don't want to do that.
But see, and again, it's like, I will never spit on a man who decides that that's not his lane.
Mm-hmm.
I'll never sit back and tell a man, but I will tell him the same level of reality. If I can tell a woman over here on this side that if you too masculine, you too this, you too that you limit your opportunities of finding the type of guy that you say that you want, I can go on this side of the coin and tell that brother that, hey, if you're not going to get out here and get into the race, man, you just get what's left over.
Period.
If you're not going to get out here, you're not going to put your best foot forward. If you know that you 5'8" and you know a great deal of women like 6 foot and up, then you got to compete and you got to come with something bigger, something better. You might have to hit the gym a little bit more than me just because you have to compensate for your lack of height. Or you might have to become funny. You might have to develop a personality. You might have to see a personality coach if such a thing exists. I'm not sure, but you may have to find other talents to tap into to make you competitive. You might have to hit that confidence boost. So you might have to be cock diesel, Mr. Swole.
Right.
You might have to walk in and demand your respect when you walk into a room. You might have to do certain things that I don't have to do.
Right.
So it's like I understand that if I walk into certain rooms, every woman in the room ain't looking for the black dude. So if I walk into a room and it's a slew of Latinas in the room, and I can just do my thing, that's an icebreaker right there, just because of the fact that I can speak Spanish. It may not necessarily be the thing that's gonna land me what I want, but it may get me a little closer than somebody who
You
is
can
not
blend in the room.
necessarily, yeah, somebody who can't play the room.
You can blend in the room. You good.
So that advances my opportunities.
Yeah.
So in this culture, I might not be the best looking, or how they say, I might be a little exotic in this room. But then to know that there's a certain level of assimilation to where it's like, okay, well, my parents might not agree with this, but because he got that thing about him, I might be able to sell it a little bit better.
Yeah.
So we have to understand that that's a part of the competition. Now, despite the fact that I got that aspect of me naturally, or nurturally, I should say, because it was learned in the house. But despite that aspect of things, when I walk into a room, it's like to be able to identify certain elements in a room, be able to play it to my advantage. That is part of my mating strategy. That's something I have in my deck of cards.
Was you taught that, or did you learn that?
What do you mean?
Being able to adapt to the room and play it to your advantage.
I had to learn it over time because I didn't realize it was an advantage.
Mm-hmm.
So you walk into a certain situation and sometimes you feel self-conscious because you feel like the odd man out. But until you learn how to take those things about you, like for instance, you are the greatest IT guy I know personally. Like, let's just call it
Appreciate
what
that.
it is.
Thank you.
Now, when it comes down to it, you can sit back and talk about something that will bore most people. They don't want to hear nothing about nothing smart. But guess what? You got a way and a delivery about you to make people listen. Yo, that's interesting. Like, I wouldn't even have thought about that. Like, yeah, man, hey, did you know such and such and such and such? Because you're not going to use all the industry terms and try and talk over people here.
Mm-hmm.
You know how to bring it here, and you know how to bring it here. You know how to bring people from here and bring them up where you at.
Yeah, go back and listen to all the podcasts, and that's you too. That's what we do. We don't miracle spiracle. We don't do all that here.
but that's my point. That's my point entirely, is the fact that when you learn about that and you learn how to operate within that thing that you have, you could take something that would traditionally not be seen as the most attractive thing, but because of you and your delivery and how you do it. It's kind of like the conversation was having with Kadeem about Busta Rhymes, rapidy rap, artistry, whatever.
Right.
But I would prefer to listen to Jay because his art is the master of his delivery. He can give me something in a way that I can appreciate it better. Get straight to the point.
Yeah.
I don't want to hear you jumping in and out of flow patterns and doing all. That's great for when it's high energy type of situation, has a price for it. But in general, when I want to hear something that I can vibe with, boom. I'm not turning on Busta.
Yeah, you're right. But when I want to hear grown and sexy, when I want to hear maturity, when I want to hear growth and progression as a man, 444. Easy.
It's like it doesn't require a whole bunch of thought to it, honestly. It's like realistically one of the key elements to understanding the things that we were taught.
Hold on, y'all.
Technical difficulties. The power gods are trying to.
I got you back.
Okay, we still going?
Yep.
Okay, so one of the things about understanding the thing about relationships specifically is the fact that a lot of things you don't know until you're out in the field. There's a lot of stuff that we will never know until we are legitimately out there in the field. Primarily because of the fact that people give advice sometimes, like a lot of people give advice they're not qualified to give.
I agree for sure. I mean, even outside of advice, just all out commenting on a subject in general that you're just not qualified to speak on at all, period.
It's a
That's
lot of that.
hence why certain individuals under the gun now. But so what about anything that you was taught that you found was true or had some truth in it?
The only truth that I acquired early on was about not allowing myself to get my emotions involved with things. I was always taught to use rationality. And that was since I was a boy. And many young men dealt with that same thing. So whereas like when we were playing sports or something happened and we were taught, walk it off, stop crying, be a big boy. And while some people would tell us that it was debilitating and forced us to not be able to connect with ourselves in an emotional sense, the reality of that situation is that it taught you about the harsh realities of what the world is. That you as a man, child, man, whatever have you, you don't have options to sit around and be weak because you'll be trampled over at every step. So get up, lick your wounds, get back out there and go make it happen. That's one of the few things I can say off rip that I know for sure. There's one piece of advice that my mother gave me that I felt like was, I'll say like a two-parter. And anybody who hears this advice, by all means, I'll let my mother know, get a copyright for it. But number one is, if it ain't working for you, it's not working for nobody. Period. It's not. If it ain't working for you, it ain't working for nobody. Advice number two: she could have every quality that you like. You're going to meet a bunch of women who are going to share the qualities that you like, but it's what you don't like about it that's going to determine whether or not she's the one for you. Can
I
you deal
I
with the
got
stuff
that one.
that you don't like about it?
I got that one for sure.
So, with that being said, it's like to me, those are precious jewels that you hold near and dear to your heart. Is that as a man, our life is suffering. We have to get out here. We have to make it happen. You have to think. You have to use your rational brain at all times. There's no time because whatever it is that I'm trying to accomplish, if there's 8 billion people on the earth, at least 3.5 billion of them are other men.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not the smartest. I'm not the tallest. I'm not the fastest. So somewhere in between the matrix, I have to find my fit and I have to be the best version of myself in order to accomplish whatever's for me to accomplish. And the only way I'm going to do that is not by being the swiftest, not by being the fastest, not by being the smartest, is by me outworking everybody in my way. Don't get no simpler than that.
I mean, I think that's a lesson for every man in general, really. I think for the most part, we're all taught that. You know what I'm saying? Go out there, you got to be the best. You got to dunk the best. You got to score touchdowns the best. You got to outsail the best, insert best here. And I think that's been ingrained in us as a shorty.
Well, but we go back to that earlier point that I made when it comes down to the guy that's over there. The guy that's over there got to understand that just like he was taught
He got that
that
too.
lesson. If he was taught that lesson, then he needs to understand that that count for mating too. That count for who you bring your children in this
Yeah.
world with. That count for where your finance about to go, where your investments are about to go. Everything that a woman is going to solidify on the other end of your situation. Well, guess what? That still applies. So all that what I don't want to do,
You can classify
all that I
that.
don't want
You classify that attitude as the participation trophy.
my listen, dog. Some guys don't even get to participate until they married, if that. You know, I only recently heard about that term incel. And when I heard it, I was like, why do people keep saying that word incel? And then it's like they said what it stood for, involuntarily celibate. And I'm like, yo, that's crazy, involuntarily celibate. And like, it really didn't dawn on me how difficult it is for men to acquire a woman
It's
in
very
that way.
difficult, dog. Dude, it's a whole entire art form in its own, dog. Like you can start a whole music label with that. You know what I'm saying? About how difficult it is, how tough it is. You know what I'm saying? When
But
wait,
let's
I thought I lost you again. Okay, yeah, but
go
it
ahead.
is very difficult for an individual, especially a gentleman that ain't, would you would say, up to par, the six and up, six figure, or all the sixes that they got going on right now. It's going to be
Work for
extremely difficult for an individual to acquire, a woman for that. You
well,
know,
look at it from this point of view too, right? I want you to look at this. Passport bros.
Blue Book Boys,
Passport, huh?
the Blue Book Boys.
The passport
Mhm.
bros are a mixture of the higher tier that won't see what options are out there or want to play, and the lower tier that are tired of being mistreated domestically. So they go abroad to go find other opportunities. It's funny how the concept of involuntary celibacy sends people to places like the Philippines, Brazil, Thailand, wherever they can get it from. Venezuela is a hot spot. Colombia is definitely a hot. Well, not Venezuela, but Colombia is definitely a hot spot.
For sure.
And it's like it sends you all over the world in search of appreciation.
Mhm.
Like when people talk about the passport bros, I'm like, what y'all don't get about the passport bros is the fact that they're not leaving because they want easy access to sex. They're leaving because they want respect.
I mean,
Those guys,
mic drop. I
those,
mean, that's it.
those guys that don't feel like they should have to become the Andrew Tates of the world, or they feel like they have to become the top dogs and stuff like that, who feel like I'm accomplished, I'm good where I am. If you don't appreciate what it is that I have to offer, they hit the road.
It is.
So it's not saying that, and by no means am I advocating for anybody to do this if you're not already doing it, or if it's something that you already wanted to do, don't let me discourage you. I'm not telling anybody who you don't feel appreciated domestically to go abroad, to go do whatever. But at the same time, it's like I look at things from a perspective of I want access to what I want. I don't want to feel pigeonholed with anything.
Yeah.
To me, it's like Rihanna is never on my radar. Never dawned on me at a point in time to ever even think that we would ever be in the same room. It was never a fantasy of mine to one day get with a Rihanna or a Beyonce or any of the Destiny's Child members at that level.
Mm.
But whoever you were to rank up here in the highest stratosphere of women and looks it never occurred to me to even think about that. But I think that there's also something to be said too, that a lot of people who spend a lot of time fantasizing are guys that don't spend a lot of time working. I could be wrong with that.
You know, speaking of working and entwining that with the passport bros, like think about that. So more than likely that gentleman works here in the States, correct?
Hmm.
And they're able to take off and fly wherever they want to go, correct?
Correct.
So I'm looking at the amount of time that they can take off and then the amount of money that they have and or accumulated to be able to go and take these trips sometimes multiple times a year. And I'm looking at a way of the things that a lot of women today are asking for, the guys here do have.
I think that
They have the time, they have the money, they have the resources, they have it for them to
I
be
think
able
what
to do that.
well, I think that what's always missing from the conversation is the fact that a lot of the women who ask for a certain type of man, they are asking for it from a imaginative place. They're
Yeah.
not asking for it based off of the reality of who the guys actually are. Because if you weren't trying to create a Frankenstein man, well, he got the looks, he got the wallet, he got the this, he got the that, he's got the demeanor, he's got the social status.
Yeah.
If you wasn't trying to create
A
a
Build-A-Bear.
Frankenstein, the Build-A-Bear. If you wasn't trying to build a bay, you will come to the realization that a great deal of the men have the majority of your checklist. That when you look at
Yeah.
it and you say to yourself, okay, realistically, I could make 100,000 a year and be broke. I could make 100K per year and be broke. And somebody can make 40 and have the house paid off, have a car, have a nice situation. They timed the economy. They got good investments. They done everything that they needed to do. But being married to this idea doesn't it doesn't talk about the other elements that are associated with with the lifestyle. You want the lifestyle. You don't want him. You want what he provides.
Mm-hmm.
You want to, I guess, like him, or you want to be able to tolerate him, but you really want everything that he provides.
You know, I heard this. It might have been a clip or a short, whatever. But the guy said that a lot of women ask for the high value man. They have an idea of what a high value man is, but once they actually get in it, they can't accept the high value man or what he does because somebody at that caliber, and I think I think me and you spoke about it too. Actually today I believe we was talking about if this dude is putting in this X amount of work and time to acquire this said amount of resources and funds and all that, just because you come into the picture doesn't mean that he's going to slow down his means of being able to acquire the said amount of resources and funds that he has already established himself to get.
Absolutely.
If anything, he's going to make himself more busy.
Yeah. Well,
He's
here's
going
the
to introduce more work so he can
because
acquire
now I
more.
have purpose.
Right.
Because now that you're here, I have purpose. So now I am securing a life not for myself, but I'm securing it for the family and everything that I want. See, I think that a lot of the delusion with a lot of the relationships and a lot of the misnomers about high value this, high value that is that he should already have it already established. So by the time you walk in the picture, he should be able to put it down, and you guys should be able to bask in the fruits of his previously acquired labor.
Yeah, because listening to the Kendra G show and all these other call-in shows, like there's a lot of emphasis on fun and travel and gifts and everything else. Like a man's job is to provide fun. When being a man already is a tough job,
It's duty.
and then being a husband is a duty. Like you said, it's a duty. That's a tough job. I don't get to stop being the husband. I have to protect at all times. I don't get a break. I have to provide at all times. I don't get a break.
See, and I think that, to put some sauce in them ribs, I think that one of the biggest letdowns in society current day is the fact that men are consistently telling women what they want in exchange for what they provide. And it consistently goes by the wayside. This is what I want to give you in exchange for what you've already got. It's like all of my success should be mandatory, but all of your cooperation should be optional.